Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Dancing Herbalist. My name is Jillian Karnick, and I am the founder and one of the practitioners at The Dancing Herbalist. If you're not yet familiar with The Dancing Herbalist, we are an herbal company that provides online classes, topical herbal products, and private consultations for individuals seeking herbal and wellness support. Today, I would like to share a wonderful herb with you that you can use at home. It is great to harvest yourself, and you can use it immediately for poison ivy and other skin irritations. If you do not know what herb this is, it is the amazing jewelweed, also known as touch-me-not.
Jewelweed is a plant that is in the same family as impatiens, and its scientific name is Impatiens capsensis. It is one that is not too difficult to identify by its flowers, but harder when there are no flowers. Around the end of May in Maryland, you can start to see the seed leaves coming out of the ground, and then months later it develops into these lovely orange flowers. The flowers bloom mid to late August, and you will start to see one or two flowers then, and in September they get nice and full, and you see lots and lots of these beautiful orange flowers. When I am looking for jewelweed, I always look for boggy wet areas near water first. Now we will talk about jewelweed and poison ivy in a minute, but it is interesting that they tend to grow in the same environment. They both like to have their feet wet. Now I always identify jewelweed when it is spring by the seed leaves. The two seed leaves are like smooshed hearts, and they usually are very wet soil. They have a blue tint to their leaves, as do the adult leaves. If you are not familiar with the term seed leaves, you can begin to think about how a peanut has two leaf-like structures inside of it. These are the seed leaves. As the plant starts to grow, they are the first to come out of the soil and often look different than the adult leaves. On jewelweed, the adult leaves are alternate and gently toothed. You can see that there are two, and they are always alternating from each other across on a stem. The edges of jewelweed's leaves are toothed, and the veins alternate just as the leaves do. As I mentioned before, they have a blue tint to them on the leaf, with the leaf petioles having a slight red tint. There are two different varieties of jewelweed that are found commonly. This is the orange jewelweed, and there is a second that is also yellow, but this is however used more medicinally. There are a few other varieties of jewelweed out there, such as yellow jewelweed. The yellow is considered to be not quite as potent in its medicinal actions. You can still use it, but it is not necessarily going to have the same effects as the orange one that we will be discussing shortly. Now, you have probably heard of this plant even if you don't recognize it. One of the common names of this plant is touch-me-not, and if you watch the seed pod when I touch it, you will see why. See what happened? It explodes. This is why a lot of kids really enjoy playing with jewelweed, because you can get the seed pods to explode. You can see how it just pops open, and when I do it slowly, you can see what is happening with all the different seeds in it. This seed dispersal method ensures that this annual plant will grow back every year, so we will always have plenty of jewelweed medicine. So what do we use jewelweed for? Its most common uses are for poison ivy, stinging nettles, and poison sumac rashes. This then makes it really handy that jewelweed likes to grow in the same environment as poison ivy. You can usually find it quickly if you get to the poison. If you walk through a poison ivy patch and you are not quite sure what to do, you can grab a handful of leaves. Simply clutch them up in your hand and rub them onto the area that has been exposed to the poison ivy to make a fresh plant poultice. Most plant poultices you chew in your mouth first. You do not want to do this with jewelweed. We used to ingest jewelweed, but we don't really do that anymore because there is some concern that has high calcium oxalate levels, which may promote kidney stones. Jewelweed is really one of our classic folk medicines that we use, so there's not really any doses that we consider when using jewelweed. It is really for when you are wandering around and you are exposed to poison ivy, stinging nettles, poison sumac, or something like that, and you want to just put something on right away when you have it. How it works best is when you apply it right after you know you've touched poison ivy, nettles, or poison sumac. You put the jewelweed right away to prevent the rash from coming in the first place. With poison ivy, if you do already have a rash on the area, applying jewelweed can help prevent the spread of the rash. Using jewelweed is really a preventative treatment. Poison ivy rashes are very interesting because they actually start to produce their own oils that spread both internally and externally depending on the severity of the rash. Jewelweed does help prevent the external spread of the oils. Now, because the Dancing Herbalist Jewelweed Mint has alcohol in it, that alcohol helps to dry up the rash, which will also help prevent the spread of oils on the skin. The alcohol can also help with the itching because of the cooling sensation it provides. When you do put jewelweed onto your skin, it does leave a bit of an orange residue that is kind of sticky to the touch. That stickiness creates a barrier to protect the skin from any of the stinging nettles, poison ivy, and that sort of thing. When you put enough on your skin, it will appear orange. You can consider using jewelweed as a temporary dye if you want to get a little bit more orange in your hair, but it is not going to be something that sticks around. If you are curious about some of the other uses of jewelweed, one of our professional interns, Kimberly Johnson, has published a blog for the Dancing Herbalist on the topic. You can visit this post through the link in the description. When you do go to use and harvest jewelweed, it is best to do it in a way that will encourage additional growth of the plant. Do this by cutting right above a node, that place where the leaves attach to the stem. When you do that, it encourages the plant to branch, and it will grow 2 additional stalks rather than the single one. You can see down here that it has a branch where it's already happened. This is the jewelweed patch that I actually harvest from for the Dancing Herbalist Jewelweed Liniment, so it is very likely that I actually cut this plant already, and that was what promoted the node to split there. If you do plan to gather jewelweed every year from the same stand, make sure to not harvest all of the flowers, or you may not have enough seeds spread for your stand to grow the next year. Most herbalists recommend not harvesting more than 10% of a stand of any herb. Luckily, with jewelweed, the leaves and flowers both hold medicinal value, so harvesting just the leaves before it goes to flower can be helpful in promoting even more flowering of your jewelweed due to the pruning practices. Make sure when you do harvest to get the healthy leaves, not older leaves. When I do harvest, I generally cut off 10 to 12 inches at the top, and when I get home, I chop it up to continue processing it. Once you have your jewelweed, there is some debate over whether you should heat the jewelweed when making your preparation. Personally, I like to use it fresh. After cutting it up into pieces that won't damage my blender, I blend it into a pulp, only adding a little water to get the blender working. There's a lot of orange fluid in the stems and the leaves, even if they are kind of floppy. You know they have the right plant when there is an orange tint to the juice. The orange color is not found in the flowers, but is found in the leaves. If you are making a tea to use as a wash, you can take a few handfuls of your chopped up jewelweed and pour hot water over them. Let it set for 10 to 15 minutes, strain, and freeze in ice cube trays for individual uses. This water infusion or tea should also be an orange color and again not be taken internally but only used as a wash. You can add the infusion to a bath as well if you have been exposed to poison ivy over a longer portion of your body. The juice can also be frozen and used as a wash or added to a bath as needed. When it comes to strength, again, this is a folk remedy and is intended to be used on the trail as needed. You can, however, freeze the juice or tea for later use or make a liniment. The liniment that is used for the Dancing Herbalist is actually about a 1 to 3 extract. We juice it at about a 1 to 1.5 weight to volume ratio, and then we cut that with alcohol to make it a 50% alcohol solution. If you would like more information on the math associated with this, I recommend our Herbal Product Preparations class, Module 1, which is available in the link description below. When I recommend using the Dancing Herbalist Jewelweed Liniment, I recommend putting some on, let it dry, and then putting another layer on, doing this a few times so that it creates an orange film that will feel tacky to touch it. This is that protective barrier to help prevent the spread of any poison ivy or poison sumac oils that jewelweed is really valued for. You can do the same thing with the other extracts if you do not want to soak in them to get the lovely benefits of jewelweed. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about this wonderful plant medicine. If you have any questions, feel free to come over to the Dancing Herbalist Herbies, linked in the description below, where we have discussions on herbs, herbal medicine, and wellness techniques. Feel free to join our discussion there. If you are interested in getting jewelweed for your home, you can stop by thedancingherbalist.com to pick some of our jewelweed liniment today. Be sure to also follow us on one of our social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram for more information on our products, classes, wellness tools, and special events. Thank you so much again for joining us, and happy herbing.